Welcome to the Beyond Divorce, Embracing Change podcast. My name is Michael Flores, and I will be your host while we explore the complex journey of divorce with empathy, insight, and practical knowledge. Whether you're contemplating separation, in a divorce, or looking for support post-divorce, our episodes provide expert guidance, stories, and strategies to help you through every step of the process. We are actual therapists, helping clients who sit on our couches every day through their difficulties of divorce. You are not alone. Join us as we delve in and find solutions that give you hope again. We're glad you're here.
This podcast is not intended to replace legal or personal help. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Asian series on this podcast. I'm really excited. Jinohn has taken a role here, which I'm so excited. She got to be a participant in listening to all the, I guess, every single one of these episodes so that we could actually do this episode, which is a recap of all basically the three legs, the Triangulation, Parentification, and Alienation series. So, Jinohn, thank you for doing this.
Of course.
Okay. Well, glad you're here. We did have a question. Do you mind if we answer it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's answer it together. So we had a question come in, and I'm actually going to read the question here. It says, a question from a child.
Oh.
Now, I'm not sure if children are listening to our podcast, but I do know that parents are listening to the podcast, and maybe this is a question that was asked of a parent from the child. So we're going to help answer that question. I might be other parents that have the same question. When your parents get a divorce, why does the kid need to make both parents happy? Well, that's a little bit like triangulation, isn't it?
Sounds like it.
It does. So it's good. Dad tells the kid to go to do this, but it will make mom mad. So you don't do it, and you get in trouble. But if mom tells you to do something, but dad doesn't like it, you don't do it, and you get in trouble as well. So you feel like you're basically stuck in the middle. What is that? Oh, looky there. Okay, we're on to it. I hope you're watching this episode. This is fun. Okay, so you're in the middle. Why can't the parents just communicate and not let the child get involved for their mental health?
Well, why can't the parents just communicate?
Why can't the parents just communicate? Well, the kid's telling you the answer.
Yeah. I mean, that's the answer. The parents need to communicate and get on the same page. We're going to kind of talk about, creating consistency, creating security.
Well, so I think the answer to the child, I would say, I'm not sure why your parents can't communicate, but I'd love to help. That's probably my answer to the kid. But to help you, the parent, know how to navigate that, what are some suggestions or things you think they should follow, Jinohn?
Well, I mean, it's kind of what we're going to go into when we talk about triangulation and to de-triangulate your kiddo. Really what we're trying to do is we're trying to pull them out of the middle, which is filling up this gap right here.
There it is.
Which would be parents communicating.
And
I would say, if I think, when we're in sessions together, Michael, and we're working with the parents, I know a lot of times you will say, if you go, if there's an issue with parent A, you go to parent A.
Yes.
And if there's an issue with parent B, we're going to go to parent B.
Ask the kid to do that.
Ask the kid to do that, rather than trying to please both and do different things and creating this cognitive dissonance.
Right. Taking a B problem to an A. Yeah. Taking a math problem to a science teacher. So if it's a dad issue, it goes to dad, mom issue goes to mom. And that detriangulates right there. Right. Unless it's safety. Right. Because if it was safety, then, want the kid to be able to go to anybody.
You do what you got to do for safety.
Of course. To answer this better for you, Mom, I think what I would say to the child is when the child is uncertain what to do and they're at dad's house or they're at your house, they follow the rule of the parent they're with. So if you're asking something of your kiddo that you want them to do while they're at their dad's going to call the final shot on that. So you can still encourage and say, I'd like you to do this, but if dad's rule is different than your request, they need to follow dad's rule on dad's time and follow your rule on your time in the meantime. And that keeps the kid out of the middle while you're still trying to figure out how to work this out with the parent.
Right.
So really what you're describing is parental alignment, right? Not co-parenting. Parental alignment is us getting on the same page on what we want for our kid. And the kid feels caught in the middle because of triangulation. So the way I would help you help your child in this situation is When you're at dad's house, follow dad's rules. When you're at my house, follow my rules. When they don't align, the kid's still safe on both sides, right? And you've made it safe for them because you're okay with that.
Right.
So that's the way that you keep them out of the middle. I hope that helps. And basically the response to your kid is, why can't parents just communicate? Buddy, I'm not sure. Or sweetheart, I don't know if it's your son or daughter, but I'm not sure. But we'd love to help. And this is why parent facilitation, which you are a parent facilitator, Jinohn.
I am.
That's why we do that. Co-parent counselor. I do co-parent counseling. We created that, or we do that. We're trained in that on purpose to help that happen. So I want to say something to you, kiddo. Thank you so much for your question. I loved it. And mom or dad, I think it was a mom that maybe sent this in, but whoever you are, thank you so much for the question. I hope we've answered. I hope we've helped you. And please send us more.
Yeah.
Love questions.
And love them from kids' point of view. I love kids. I do kids stuff, and I can kind of share from what I learn from kiddos, but I would love to hear like kids' questions so then we can kind of answer it, because a lot of this is based off of parents listening to the podcast, so we kind of share it in the vein of parents do this, parents do that, but I would love for kids to be able to get some answers too.
Oh man, I mean, kids come in with questions when they come see us.
Yep.
So when they come see us, we answer what we can. And then I think parents get stuck in, what if I don't know what to say? Or what if I've been told I can't answer that question? What do I do? And I think this is where a third party can help, right?
Yeah.
You bring in a counselor and you say, kid's wanting to know this, or kid needs, and I don't know how to respond to that. And then there's a way that we can help you neutralize that situation with the
neutral.
child.
Yes,
we
sure.
can help you neutralize it. So it's good stuff. All right, we're going to jump in. Triangulation.
All right.
Okay. Jinohn, where are we going? You tell me.
Well, I mean, this is going to be just kind of a recap of what Jen and Michael talked about. And the link is going to be in the description. So if you ever need to reference the full brevity of the whole conversation that Michael and Jen had, we're just going to kind of hit on some things, give you some highlights, and then so we'll have the link in the description. Go ahead and click that.
Yes. Thank you for saying that, Jinohn. We're going to link this episode into our YouTube channel. And the reason is because we have a visual, literally we have a visual for you, and you're going to want to see what we're going over, because those visual learners definitely do that. Jinohn's got props.
Hey.
Thanks, Jinohn. So we would definitely want you to see what we're showing you, so you can hear it and see it. So please look at the YouTube. But if you are listening, we will put the link in the YouTube YouTube channel link, so that you can click it and get it to the YouTube version of this episode. All right, take it away, Jinohn.
Okay, so our first conversation between Michael and Jen was triangulation, and they did talk about like, what is it? So I think what Jen said was, was kind of it was essentially taking advantage of two people's relationship, and because they're not talking. And so that's kind of how I kind of drew it out a little bit for y'all. And so we have, it's going to be three people. And I always say, and I think we've learned this in our, when we were going to school, that three is the most stable relationship, which is weird, right?
Yeah. Well, Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Yeah. It's the most stable relationship, because if there's conflict between two, you can pull one in and it's more comfortable, isn't it?
Yes. That'd be like a mediator.
Yeah.
They're doing that in court, right? Or you have a judge and the two parents. And yeah, that's right.
So when there's
that third
conflict between the two, we pull in the third to make it a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
So I have arrows going back and forth between child and parent one, child and parent two, because there is a conflict. What's the child going to do? I didn't do the arrow for this, but they're going to try to fill this gap. And that's how they become triangulated. Parents can do it, kid can do it. Somebody can triangulate themselves, or parents can kind of triangulate them. And that's where we get the child in the middle, because they are in the middle of these two parents, because there's conflict.
That's right. Well, and like we said, and I think in that episode, Jinohn, we talked about in the triangulation episode with Jen, we talked about specifically kids are just filling in gaps.
Yeah. Look.
Yeah. The gap is between the parents, and that's where the conflict is, and the child has to fill that gap. And you mentioned something to me, Jinohn, during a break. You said, don't children play roles to fill that gap?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. What are the roles?
If there's gatekeeper.
Yes.
Right. So, and I think, the question that we had beforehand, this would be kind of like a gatekeeper.
This is a gatekeeper. This is
that
a gatekeeper child.
Because I want to please both parents. I don't want to make this parent mad. I don't want to make this parent mad. So then therefore I'm going to please.
And I think on this chart you have, that's the arrow going this way.
Correct.
So the arrow that goes down, that's the gatekeeper. Right. That's correct. So what about the arrow going the opposite direction when the child is pulling the parents upward into themselves? What role are they typically playing
I
there?
think that would be a distractor.
Yes.
Because I'm going to do things to distract from this.
The conflict. I'm going to create conflict so I become the conflict and the parents don't have the conflict. The parents have to align to help the child.
In order to help. Yep.
Yeah. So back to that question that parent asked, the gatekeeper child over time, because I'm assuming this is a younger child, just based on the question, but based on the gatekeeping role, because typically distractors are a little older.
Yeah.
And they kind of like the preteen. And so what this child will do if this conflict never gets resolved is they will start distracting. They will start creating problems.
Yeah.
And it will shift the focus onto the child and take it away from the parents because they don't get along.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. And what was the last role?
The last one would be the avoider.
And what does the avoider do?
Well, this is our teenagers. And this is Armando's bread and butter right here.
Yes.
And this teenager's like,
yes.
Forget these parents. I don't care.
Yep.
I'm not doing anything with them anymore.
Yeah, I'm done with them.
I'm done with them.
Yeah, hard pressed. I would say Armando kind of really works well with distractors and systems, but as they age and they kind of get to I'm done with them, he kind of really he aligns well with avoiders too. Yeah, I would agree with that. So there's your 3 roles children play. Got a little extra by listening to this episode.
And that link will be also in the description. Because if you want to know what the actual roles are and what it looks like, and you want more information on that link will also be in the description.
Yeah, we're starting to see a pattern where we're linking some of our episodes to this information, so that's great.
Systems.
All right, what else?
All right, and I think something that you guys really did talk about that I did not put on here, but we really want to talk about like the impact that this has on kids.
Yeah.
And it creates insecurities in kids. And so, and that's really kind of going to be kind of what goes into things to remember, which is, we want to create a sense of security with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Parents, you want to remember, it really depends on how you respond. I want to ask you, Michael, because I think you talked about this one.
Yeah.
In that episode, give us some more about how parents can respond in order to help with getting kids out of the middle or getting them detriangulated.
Sure. Well, first thing you got to do is you got to listen to the kid. I mean, you want to get as much perspective from the child's view as you can without putting too much into it yourself. Like you don't want to put your own stuff on the kid. Right. So that projection. So things to remember is you first off hear the kid's complaint. Yeah. And then what you want to do is when you create a way of resolving the triangle or detriangulating, as we talked about in this answer earlier on this question, is you notice that it's fair on both sides. Like what I'm asking you to do over there is also the same thing I expect you to do over here. Yeah. So I'm not expecting you to do something different over there that I wouldn't expect from you here. Right. And right. So the expectation is the same. That detriangulates, right? It neutralizes the triangle. Right. The other thing that's important is try not to have conversation about a person who's not present. Right. So like I've had parents come in and say, the other parent was saying that you said in a session with the kid that I da-da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, well, did you hear that from me? And they said, well, no, that's why I'm asking you about it. So if you didn't hear it from me, it probably didn't happen. And what that did is I was saying, let me be the one to speak for myself. Right. And so what you want to do as parents when a kid is triangulated or coming to you with the other parent stuff is you need to discern, is this really a conversation that deserves to happen between me and the other parent, or is this something I need to resolve with my kid? But you don't want to have a conversation about the other parent without the parent's presence. That detriangulates when you bring the third party in, right? Yes. Yeah, it sounds like we're wanting to talk about how we want to do baseball, right, with the kid, or that you want to sign them up for baseball. And so then what you do is you call the other parent and say, hey, little Johnny wants to talk about playing baseball. Do you want to talk with little Johnny together and figure out how we can make this work, or would you rather talk about this ourselves first? And so you're creating that way for that other parent to feel respected, to say, I think parents should agree first before we put little Johnny on the phone. Yeah. Or you both may agree that little Johnny needs to have a little say-so in his baseball, right? So that's another detriangulating tactic that you can use, right? You just pull it all together. We do that in therapy all the time, don't we? When a kid's coming in this room and talking about a parent, we just go get the parent, bring them in and say, hey, we need to talk. And the kid's like, I'm not ready to do that. Like, we're going to have to get there.
It'll happen.
Yeah, we're going to get there, right? We're going to detriangulate. Right. Okay, so that's great. What else?
Yeah, another thing to remember is children catching you, it's more like a do as I do And as I say,
Yes.
And so kind of like what you talked about when you say, if there's an issue with parent A, go to parent A. If there's an issue with parent B, go to parent B. I love saying that because it's such a great idea, right?
Yes.
So what we're doing is parent A, if there's an issue with parent B, guess what they need to do? They got to go to parent B.
That's right.
And not to their kiddo.
That's
kind of, let kids catching you modeling what you're trying to teach your kid to pull them out of the middle.
Well, what goes back to the question is, would you want your kid, if they had a problem with you, to tell everyone else or tell you?
Right.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell me. Well, why don't you encourage that on the other side? So if they come to you about the other parent, wouldn't you want them to talk to the other parent? Because that's what you would want them to do with you.
Right.
So offer that back. That's modeling. Right. You're modeling what you want the child to do in that situation. And so, they're catching you.
Yeah.
Kids see how you do, not what you say.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
And then one thing that Jen had talked about at the end of all this is kind of stepping back and slowing down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good one.
Not being so quick to being like, yeah, he is terrible, isn't he?
Well, if it's high emotion, that's like the cue to slow down, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that kind of goes into kind of how you respond, because emotion is respond. We respond with our emotions, and we can.
Well, we react with emotion.
We react with our emotions, but we really want to respond.
Which
and
is
how
logic.
We can respond is being able to step back, slow down.
When you slow down, you're more likely to engage the part of your system in your brain that allows you to become responsive, not reactive.
Not reactive.
Yeah. Reactive is the mid brain, kind of the mammalian animal brain, where you're
that knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, how dare they say that?
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you find yourself extremely defensive, what that really means is that's a trigger point for you as a parent, and that means that's something you need to work on within yourself.
Yeah.
So as they say, if you get triggered, that's a you thing, right? So you need to look into that. That's something I would encourage parents to do when they're sensing triangulation, is how are they getting triggered by it? Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
All right. Awesome.
All right. So if there is triangulation, sometimes, I think that this is kind of like a drill in, so.
This is most common,
This is the most common. You're probably going to always see triangulation if there's some type of litigation in general, right? You got plaintiff, defendant, and arbitrator. You got mediator. You have judge, whatever it is,
There's
litigation.
always a third party.
There's always a third party, right?
Yeah.
So this is
counselor.
Always going to happen.
There's a counselor involved now. Yeah.
So, but let's drill down.
Okay.
Let's get a little bit more specific and let's get to, the one that everybody wants to see is alienation. So we're going to get there.
We'll get there. Stick with us, because we want to make sure that when you do get there, you're actually there, not in something else. Yeah.
All right. Next one is parentification. And look, we don't even have to spell it out for you. Link in the bio for that one.
There you go. That's right. Parentification. Parentification. Yes.
All right. Biggest thing is that kids are going to ask the question, is my parent okay?
Ooh, that's good, Jinohn.
Yeah. So that's going to be the question. I did a circle because it's kind of like the parents in here. If I put a P in there, I should have put a P in there, but I didn't. And then this is the kid kind of circling themselves around the parent because they need to make sure that this parent is okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the reason I think it's good as a circle, it's an infinite loop of continuing to check, is my parent okay? How many adult parents do you think we have that were parentified themselves as children, and they're still doing it today?
So many.
And there's your loop. That's why it's so. If parentification has occurred or you've been looped into it in some form, you're either looping your child or you were looped into it.
Yes.
It's really important to nip it, like to catch it.
Yes.
To catch when it's happening, when you're doing it, because it's one of those, to me, it's almost like a virus. It's like one of those things that once it latches onto you, it's just going to take its toll. It's got to run through you. It's got to run its course.
Yes.
And I hate that for people. And this is, I think you heard me talk about this, Jinohn. I think we said this is typically more common than alienation, is we usually see this as a dynamic that's really occurring.
Yes. A lot of times if they say, is there alienation? It's just like, there's probably more parentification than alienation.
Absolutely.
Happening.
I've actually been asked that in court. Like I'll be asked, Mr. Flores, do you believe alienation is occurring? I said, parentification is what's happening.
Yeah.
And then I have to educate what is that. And I've done that more than once. And I will say there are some courts I've had to say that more than once in. And so I think the judge is more educated in it than the parent now of what that actually is.
Correct.
And this was a term that was designed by Ivan Borzmazov-Nagy, I think.
Wow.
I don't remember how to say
Link
that
in
name.
the bio for that.
Yeah, it's a lot. Link in the bio. Everything's linked in the bio. That poor bio.
How about
I don't think everything's going to end up in the bio, everyone, but we promise to put the YouTube channel in the bio for the listener.
at least his name or something. I don't know.
Well, we give him credit. I'm giving him credit by saying his name. It was in the late 70s that studying family systems, and this is what they learned. And I thought, what a really cool idea, because I think people have described this more than they've described alienation, not realizing that's what they mean. So yes, and I like what you said here. The child's natural question is to say, is my parent okay?
Yeah.
That's what the child's asking. Whether you're parentifying or not, kids are asking that question all the time, especially in a divorce.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So parentification, what we're doing is I put mixing roles on the side over here because
perfect.
that's kind of what it is. We're mixing roles. Child is taking responsibility that's not theirs. And there's two different types of parentification.
Yes.
So physical, wasn't there another one?
Instrumental.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and it's, cooking, cleaning, paying bills, taking care of siblings, that kind of stuff. The stuff that you can really, they're putting their hands on it. I need to get food for our family because my parent is jacked. I don't know.
What I didn't say about physical parentification or instrumental is that this is typically the kid that looks extremely mature for their age.
Yes.
They're like my kid is they're just so mature they're so bummed. It's like I'm talking to a 50-year-old when I talk to my teenager.
They're 13 going on 30.
That's it. That's typically how it's said. That might be a sign of that parentification could be occurring.
Yeah.
Because that's what you see in that child, that high level of maturity.
Or they would
at a
be
very young
prone
age.
to it.
They're prone to it. They almost don't act as children either. They act like little adults. Yeah.
They do.
That's where that sometimes comes from.
They do.
Okay. Thank you.
And then emotional. And I think in this the podcast or the episode that you and Armando talked Lord. Let's rewind that one.
Okay.
The one that you and Armando talked about, you said that you more so see emotional than the physical or instrumental. Link will be in the bio.
Everything's linked in the bio. Why are they watching the episode? Everything's in the bio. We're teasing. Sorry. That's just our humor here. We apologize. Okay. Yes. Go back to that. Emotional. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So emotional is taking care of the feelings of the parent. And
which we said was more common.
More common and probably a little more damaging, do you think?
That's a great question, Jinohn. I would say that the kiddos that I have seen age out. So now that we're talking to young adults, because I've had kiddos that I've talked to that they had a divorce in the early part of their life, come to see us as adults, and it's because of the emotional parentification. They're really coming because of the residue that was created as a way of feeling it was their responsibility to care for their parent.
Mm-hmm.
And typically their emotional needs, and not to say this, I think I want parents to understand, it's not to say that when you're hurt or you're sad or you're in a depressive state or there's angst present, you're anxious, whatever it might be, there's nothing wrong with it. You have to be cognizant that your child is asking, are you okay, in their own mind.
Right.
And so if they're constantly seeing you in a state of not being okay, what is the natural tendency for children to do? Because they want to feel secure too. They're going to care for you.
They're going to fill in that gap.
They are. And I think the scary thing is it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good when your kid comes up to you, wants to hug on you and wants to snuggle you and make sure. The one that always used to worry me is when the kids are way outgrown sleeping in the parent's bed, but they're still doing it because the parent actually really likes it too. And I'm like, that's a little inappropriate at this age. And they're like, yeah, but they'll come in the middle of the night. You have to let them be kids and let them develop some independence of you, right? And I think parents struggle with that when they're dealing with emotional parentification is because they're getting a need met. The parent is getting a need met by the child. And that can be dangerous and damaging and look like alienation.
It can.
Okay. So yes, I'm glad we recapped on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So things to remember. Is this about me?
Oh yeah, that was a good one. Is this about me, the parent? Is this really about me or is it about them?
Yeah. About them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then parent asking themselves, what are my needs and who is responsible for fulfilling those needs?
Ooh. Man, that sounds like a counselor's question right out of the gate. Man.
Yes.
So whose needs are these and whose responsibility is to fill those? Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. That's great. Okay.
And then kind of alluding to what you had said, the roles are clear.
Yes.
because we don't want to mix the roles. Roles are clear, and so we're going to create good boundaries with our kids.
Yeah.
Good, healthy boundaries.
We talked about, you were in here when we talked about those boundaries. What is a boundary? I'm going to remind people. A boundary is not something you're asking of someone else to do.
Right.
Like, don't yell at me, right? A boundary is, go ahead.
Yeah, it's what you are going to do. I don't remember what you said exactly.
No, it's fine. It's
really
how you're going to respond if this continues.
Yeah, right.
If you're going to continue to yell, then I'm going to stop the conversation. That is a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're controlling yourself.
Bingo.
And so you're just
roles are clear, creating boundaries. Yep.
to the other person's behavior.
A boundary is creating something within yourself of how you are going to respond to assist in that situation.
Correct.
Very good.
Get help.
We're counselors. We're going to say that.
Get help.
Get some help.
Or you
We're
need
here
to
help.
get help.
That's right.
And then reframe it. I think at the
Ooh.
end you had said be grateful and thankful. Like there are times where you just really got to just.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've never been divorced. I don't ever want to be divorced. But I do know that it's hard.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is, did you know that you can't be depressed or anxious when you're grateful? Your brain can't it cannot occupy the same space.
I think I've heard you say that, yeah.
Yeah, like if you're extremely anxious and you start thinking of all the things you're grateful for, the angst starts to subside. If you're extremely depressed, which is harder to do, I know, to be grateful,
Mm-hmm.
but if you'll take the time to just, every time you feel depressed, you start thinking what you're grateful for, right? And do it out loud if you need to. Let your ears hear it. It cannot occupy the same space. It can't do both at the same time. Your brain shifts. Like you're retraining your mind on how to focus on, what should be going on, like the good things and the happy moments. And I think that's the natural tendency for human beings is to catastrophize their situations as if it's going to prepare them for a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, because even if the problem does happen, you're still going to have to deal with it.
Still got to deal with it.
Yeah. So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah.
You're like punishing yourself twice. So don't do that. If you need help through that, get help. We're here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good one. Yeah. Thanks, Jinohn. I'll get some help. Okay. Awesome. Anything else on parentification?
I don't think so. I think that's a good recap.
Awesome. So let's move on to the big one.
All right. So the big one, which is the smallest one, ironically enough.
It's the A word.
So what I would say is that, if our kiddo is being parentified, and I would say extremely parentified, and it's just constant. And what I would like to say also is that, since you have probably two parents, and, one kiddo feels like they have to take care of a parent that is just completely distraught and all that stuff.
Right.
It may be, their thoughts may be, if they're extremely parentified, especially emotionally, like parent B or parent B is doing this to parent A. So then therefore, guess what? We are going to probably get into the alienation
Yep.
bit of it.
Yep. Say it again. Just say it again, what you just said, because you were saying this is how you segued right into this, but say the segue again. That was good. I like how you did that. Do you remember what you said?
Look, I just say things.
I disagree. However, I will say, you know how well you said that. So if you go back and rewind that and
Just
listen
rewind
to that,
it. It's fine.
I'm sorry. That was great. That was a great segue into how parentification can transition into alienation. It was beautiful.
It can translate. It will not always, but it can transition into that.
Correct.
If it becomes extreme, if if there's no help getting of the parent who, just has the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So alienation, the definition that was given, one parent manipulates a child to reject the other.
Ooh, that was Armando.
That was Armando, yes. And so the thing is, what I gained from it is it unresolved stuff? Is it hate? Is it coming out of hate?
Oh, yeah.
Or is it fear-based? So is it fear of loss? Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my relationship with my kid. So then therefore I need to hold them closer and pull them closer. Or is it, I hate this parent so much, they just need to be on my side, and this kid needs to be on my side, and they need to know what the other parent is all about.
So I'm thinking as a parent right now, and I would ask, how do I figure out which one it is? And I think one of the ways you do that is when you talk to the parent you think that's alienating you, or if there's any engagement at all, the question I would ask them is just say, if whichever one you think it is you could say, it feels like your hate for me is stronger than me having a relationship with our child. All right. And then letting them kind of sit with that and go, yeah, you're damn right. Or no, that's way off. And if they're off, then it's probably the second one.
Right.
Right. If you're on, they'll probably tell you. But if it's fear-based, I had a parent in a session say said, I hope you know that I'm not trying to take away our son. I'm not keeping our son from you. The other parent disagreed and was like, well, you're BSing, right? However, I think that they were worried about this fear-based of loss, right? And so typically, I think that most times that I've seen alienation exist, I agree that it's one of these two. I'm a little bit more on the instead of saying it feels like, which is a great terminology to use, I typically like to use things like, is it more common for you to feel like you're afraid to lose this person, or do you really just dislike this person that much that you feel like this child shouldn't, like I'm asking about both sides.
Yeah.
And I want to do it from a curious place as a counselor to see kind of what I get, because I could get it's neither, and I go, help me understand. And if they go, it's this, I'm just really worried about X. A lot of times, what I'll tell parents too is if you just listen to the complaint, they're telling you what it is. Mm-hmm. In the complaint itself, like even when we were reading this question, we could tell what the kid's really asking for. Yeah. The kid's already told you what they want in their question.
Yeah.
Why can't the parents just communicate? There's the why question, and that why gives you the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't they just do this? So what the kid's asking you to do is do that.
Just do that.
So if you learn to just listen to people, sometimes they'll tell you the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So this is good. I like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got off the...
So 2 different types of alienation. There's direct. I'm going to use Armando's word. It's in your face.
In your face.
Very obvious. Your parent is terrible. You remember when that parent abused me before you were born?
Before you were born, yeah. In the womb. Push me down the stairs.
Like that kind of stuff. I'm reminding you of how terrible this other parent is, because I can't lie to you. I can't lie to my kids, right?
I won't lie.
I won't lie to my kids.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I won't lie to them. Yeah.
So that one's probably the easiest one to kind of detect. Like, your radar will go off in a second if you're saying like, oh, you're sperm donor, right? Like,
we've heard it. No, we've heard it.
It's happened.
We've heard it. No, yeah, direct is so much easier to discern.
It's
like really,
it's in your face.
It's super in your face. Yeah, it's there. You'll see it. We'll see it in the waiting room before they ever met. We were admitted.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen direct alienation right when they walked in the waiting room.
Mm-hmm.
But what I know is all behavior has purpose. And so my job is, instead of saying you're alienating, is to go, where is this coming from? Why?
Yeah.
Why is it there? Right? Like this child did. It's almost like going back to being a kid. That's fun. All right. What's the next one?
Next is indirect. So it looks legit, but there's an ulterior motive. There's insinuations, there's nonverbals, there's body language.
Yep.
All that stuff. And you know what? Kids are just so smart. They will pick up on it so quickly.
Yeah. Like when they get back from the parents' house, are you okay? That's the one me and Armando were laughing about.
Okay?
Yeah.
Are
you sure?
Are you safe over there?
Or what happened? What happened when you were at your parents' this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or one that's really, really subtle is, kids like, oh, we did all this cool stuff at Parent B's house. And I was like, but Parent B also slapped me. And they're like, oh my gosh, what?
They slapped you? Yeah.
But we're not really caring about all the good stuff.
The interesting thing about conversation, we talked about language, is I try to not use the word but. I'll say however, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I say and. Because when you use but, you're negating everything previous. Like you just did there when you said, I had all this fun, we went to the water park, we did X, Y, Z, whatever, but they slapped me. And then the slap becomes more important than everything else that came before it.
Yeah.
Right? And so the but is the separation of two stories. There's the slap, and then there's the fun stuff we had. Yeah. You get to decide which one you want to ask about.
Which one are you going to pay attention to?
Exactly. Okay?
All right. And then we have... Oh, no.
No, go ahead. Continue. Camera stuff.
So then we have the signs. And I didn't write down all the signs because you can go back to Armando and Michael's episode, link in the bio. And then you guys can, they're going to go through all the signs. But some of the signs are, when a kid says, my parent said, that's an easy one.
Yes.
My parent said that, parent B just beat her up and, and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, or the little investigator. They're going to record at the other parent's house for the other parent. I have to record this for my dad because.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's rough.
Or for court, usually.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
I think parents, even attorneys or maybe even other counselors, judges, I think they would be really interested in what are the signs, right? What does it look like? What does it sound like? A lot of parents the hardest thing I think to do with a parent when I'm looking at them and they're claiming alienation, but I know it's parentification, is trying to convince them.
Yeah.
That it's something different than what they see. And it's almost as if it's a sword they fall on, and it makes me sad because if you fall on the sword, you're still hurting yourself, right? You're still the one getting cut. And so it's almost it's a lose-lose in that situation. And so when we want to give signs, we're just saying this is what it looks like, this is what it sounds like. And Armando said it clearly when he said it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck. However, I found out it was a goose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or I found out it was a chicken. I don't know, but I guess chickens don't quack, but you get the idea. Yeah. So that's what we do as therapists is we help kind of unfold or peel back the layers, don't we?
Yeah.
Of what those things are. So that's great. There's something else on here you had. Behaviors. What were some of the behaviors?
Yeah, behaviors, bringing up old memories.
Mm-hmm.
And then having negative tone and negative body language and stuff when you're...
Yeah, like the parent that's crossing their arms when the other parent walks into the room and they're just sitting here like this and they won't make eye contact with them. Like, gosh, you're just like, that's telltale. That's like so easy.
Yeah. Or they literally get up and move to a different spot in the waiting room.
I've seen that. They'll move they sit like completely opposite corners.
Yeah.
Oh, the so-and-so walked in.
Very, very obvious that, I can't be around this person. Mm-hmm.
Poor kid. And the kid's sitting there going, I had a kid ask, who do I sit by in the waiting room? I don't know who to sit with.
Yeah.
I said, where do you want to sit? They don't even want to be in there because they're like, the tension's so great between the parents. They don't even know,
Well, yeah. I had a kid that just stood over by our receptionist. That's
Did
what
you?
they chose.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
She was like, I didn't know what to do, so I just stood by the receptionist. I was like, okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, kid. Okay.
So things to remember. And this is for the parent that feels like they're being alienated, like this first one. Show your children who you are. I think that was a big thing because you can't control what the other person is going to do or how bad they're going to alienate you or what they're going to say and all that stuff. But you can control you. And you can control how your kids see you. You can control their experiences with you.
I like that.
Be consistent and create security in your kiddos. And this is for the parent that feels like they're being alienated.
That's right.
And then for just anybody in general, be aware of your nonverbals.
Yeah. And it's okay. I don't think that's a problem for a parent who thinks they're being alienated, not to bring up that the other parent's alienating. I think it's better just to say, rather than just beat around a bush, I'll let you know that, when I see your mom or I'm acting as if because I'm a male, as if I'm the dad, but when I see your mom, I know I probably don't respond in the right way. It probably makes you feel a little uncomfortable because I know that I still have my issues with your mom. And I want you to know this. That has nothing to do with what you have with mom. I want you to feel free to love your mom however you choose. And if it bothers you, if my response or my reaction bothers you, would you please let me know? Yeah. Like you're creating, so that whole triangle and parentification, you're opening the door for the kid to look at you and go, can you stop being such quit crossing your arms when I walk in the room? Come on now. Mm-hmm. Like let them show you what they need from you.
Yeah. 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 That takes me to a scenario. And there's a kid that she was like, I feel like my parents hate each other. And I'm like, oh, really? So I brought both parents in and she said it to them. And they were like, they were so confused. They were like, what? And she was like, yeah. He's like, mom doesn't even walk me up to the door. And I was just like, oh. And so mom was like, do you want me to walk you up to the door? So she did. And now I'm like, do you think that your parents hate each other? She's like, no, because mom walks me up to the door. Simple. That one thing. Just said, okay, they don't hate each other anymore. They love me more than they hate each other.
I'm so proud of that kid for being vulnerable enough to tell you this is what it feels like for me. And you going, cool, let's clean that up right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's why I like therapy. Therapy can be so powerful when we get to do stuff like that.
And kudos to the parents who just did
100%. Yeah, because remember, the kids are catching you. Yeah. So the parents go, let's show them. Yeah. That's great. That's beautiful.
All right.
What else?
I was going to ask you, is there anything else? Anything else that you remember talking with Armando about that you're like, we really need to make sure that...
Well, they can go listen to that episode. Link will be in the bio.
Link in bio.
No, I think we've hit that horse enough for now. I'm sure there's more, but I think we'll leave it there. Hopefully, we'll get some more questions that'll help us really generate some more thinking on it. Yeah. So that, because we're human, we're not going to catch everything, but you guys can really present us with stuff that help us understand deeper what you're looking for to give us the opportunity to give you more information. So then we know what's missing. Yeah. We only know what, based on what we're told. Coca-Cola only knows it's good because people told them, right? And they keep buying the product. So, yeah, there you go. All right. What's next?
All right. And lastly, I'm not sure how to segue into this other than, all three can create chaos.
Oh, there it is. This is what they bring us.
This is what y'all bring us.
Yeah.
In session,
Yeah.
But what you guys really kind of sometimes focus on is this blue right here, this alienation.
That's the A.
And I'll say, everything.
Describe the photo here, or the picture you drew. Describe this. This is great.
So
the purple?
if you remember, the purple was triangulation, and I tried to color code everything.
Yay.
But triangulation, and so the purple, it's always going to be, and that's kind of what I said at the end.
That's why it's the big.
That's why it's the biggest thing, because if you come into our office and say, there's triangulation, I'd probably be like, yes, there is.
Before we met you, it's there.
But the thing is, if you come to my office and say, I think there's alienation, I'll be like, well, let's try to figure out if there's triangulation, and then if there's maybe parentification, and then we'll see.
Yeah, we start peeling layers back.
Yeah, we're going to peel the layers. So this is going to be the biggest thing, is triangulation. We're going to try, as therapists, we're going to work at detriangulating.
Bingo.
That's what we're going to work at first.
Yep.
If, as we do that, if we find out, okay, there might be some parentification, based on triangulation, there can be.
And represents the orange. The orange would be parentification. Yeah, it's that circular virus you can get into that just never, even as an adult, it still plays out. Yep.
Right.
Okay.
And then as we go deeper, if there's extreme parentification and triangulation and, it's just kind of all jumbled in there, then we can kind of dip our toes in alienation and see whether or not it's there. But I will say, one thing that I really want to kind of stress with parents is that if we find out that there's alienation, let's say, yes, there's alienation, it's like, well, what do we do about it?
Exactly.
That's the question. Yeah. What do we do about it? And so,
so what's our counseling joke? Don't be an A word. No, I'm kidding. Don't be an alienator.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm being stupid. Sorry. Yeah. Basically, I love this because what a great image to show. This is the Asian series logo. Triangulation, parentification,
patent pending.
Love it. TM. Is that what where'd the TM go? Trademark. Oh, you were working on the TM.
Copyright?
You can do that too.
R? Registered?
Just put all of them right.
I don't know. I'm just going to put everything there.
Love it.
And then I just want, it all intersects too. You see there, it's going to intersect. It's all going to intersect at some point,
Oh,
especially in alienation. It's going to intersect with all three of these.
Yeah.
Or these two.
And if you're in the last stage of alienation, you probably had the other ones going on for sure at some level.
For sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you could have parentification without alienation, but it could look like alienation when it really is this. But you might always have triangulation, which then can also lend itself to one. And it really depends. I think parentification really depends on how the parent's dealing with everything also. Yeah. This orange one is how are you personally dealing with it, which leads to how you behave. And that behavior could turn into alienation.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And all of these affect your children, or they impact your kiddo.
Your kid's impacted by all of them.
All of them.
Yeah. But what's funny is how the kid talks to us about it is how I can discern which one it is.
Mm-hmm.
Their complaint, their witnessing of, their experience of, helps me understand what's really happening. This one, that one, or that one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Jinohn, I love the diagram.
All right.
All right. Those
Very
YouTubers
good.
Watching the diagram. There you go. There's your Asian series logo. Okay. Is there anything here that we missed?
No, that's it.
Okay. Oh my gosh. That was so cool to recap that.
That was a lot.
Oh,
but
take it in, right?
Links are in the bio.
It's in there. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We love having you. For the individual that shared the question, thank you so much for doing that. We love helping, and I know we're spreading out a little bit more, so more people are connecting with us. I love it. Thank you so much, and keep moving forward, everyone.